Hi, everyone. This is Krista Moore with The Krista Moore Show. We are excited to start 2019 off on the right foot with a fabulous guest for all of you. Many of you may not know the backstory behind The Krista Moore Show, so I just wanted to tell you a quick story. When I was 10, I used to pretend I had my own television talk show. When I was a senior in high school, at the bottom of my yearbook picture, it says, going to have her own talk show. And I actually had a talk show when I was in college. Now, I've always wanted to be the next Barbara Walters, but my path went into sales. And just 2 years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. So that's why I am doing the show, is for fun. But the other thing that I'm doing it for is for you. I've created what I consider a new way to learn, where you can listen to industry experts and thought leaders, and I'm interviewing them and kind of getting their story out so that you can learn in a nice, relaxing, 30-minute business web conference kind of call environment. No PowerPoints, nothing like that. So first, I want to introduce to you my first guest of the year. Her name is Cynthia Barnes, and many of you may have been introduced to her through some social media that I've been doing in the past, but I met her kind of by happenstance on a way to a conference, and we kind of joke around and say we've been soul sisters ever since, because we just connected. Do you ever have a person that you met, a stranger, that you just felt this connection? Well, that's certainly what I feel with Cynthia. So I'm thrilled to have her as a guest on the show, and I'm going to have her kind of give you a little bit of background. So Cynthia, why don't you say hello to our guests? Cynthia.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hey. So Cynthia, one of the things that really impressed me the most when I first met you was your energy, but also your passion for women and women in sales. And you've taken that and, kind of created a business out of it to support other women in sales. So I'd like you to introduce yourself by giving us a little bit of a backstory around that passion for sales and women in sales.
Sure. I've been selling, and my story is I've been selling since Girl Scout cookies were $1.50 a box. Sales is who I am. It's in my blood. And like most of us, I cut my teeth on sales approaches that were created by men for men at a time when men made up the majority of the sales force. And I thought, well, what would happen if we created women-centric sales coaching and training created by women for women? And instead of having just one way and one sales approach, what if we had another way? So in 2016, I said, this is more of an and economy than an or economy. Let's create options. So that's how I got started. It was a meetup group in Metro Detroit, and now we have blossomed into the National Association of Women Sales Professionals.
Yes. So you were a very successful salesperson yourself when you were a Girl Scout. I'm sure you probably won the first place in the country for cookie sales, knowing you. But you also, what I love your phrase, dance on the glass ceiling, or being in the 1% of the sales. So for you, you were there at one point in your career. And I love that you're trying to aspire and get other women there through the NAWSP. How many members do you have today with NAWSP?
There are approximately 13,000 nationwide.
Great. And tell me a little bit about your vision for the future.
For 2020, we have a select group of 16 cities, and we would like to have 500 members in those cities. And down the road, I'm not quite sure, but I'd like there not to be a need for us to have the advocacy stance that we have. I'd like to see women in sales go from the national average of 13 or 39% up to 50%, or maybe even 57%, which is the percentage of women that are in the workforce. So I'd like to see us level the playing field, and maybe we won't have to work as hard to level that playing field.
Yeah, I think after it kind of catches on and people know that there is a resource out there for continuous learning and development, for mentorship, and that simply can make a big difference in a lot of women's lives. I'd like to talk to you about some 5 key strategies that you have spoken about, and I've heard you speak to many, many groups on this. And I really love the concepts. So I'd love to walk through those 5 key strategies that you're teaching women to dance on the glass ceiling and get to that 1%. So if we could just walk through those, I think our audience could really learn from that today.
Absolutely. The first one is the power of presence. And a lot of times what we find in women in sales is that they lack the presence and the confidence to be able to own their role and to be able to influence decision makers like they need to. The second one is owning and maintaining the integrity of your role. Too often, if there is an opportunity for someone to take notes at a meeting, for example, it falls on a woman to do it. So I'm encouraging women in sales, don't take on admin roles. Get a seat at the table. Don't be the person that delivers lunch to the office, because there's the chance that you could be seen as less than who you are. So have lunch delivered. You're not a delivery person. Then we also talk about.
I want to go back to the first one, if you don't mind, because I just want to get a little bit more of insight from you on personal presence. What does that mean in a corporate environment or in front of the customer? Presence in itself, is it how someone's carrying themselves? Is it the professionalism? What does that mean to you?
All of the above. It's how you enter a room with the confidence and the presence to say, I am who I am. I am the sales professional that is going to take care of you today, that is going to help you overcome the challenges that you face. It's about commanding respect and authority in your prospects and your customers' eyes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then when you refer to that maintaining the integrity of the role, it kind of makes me chuckle a little bit, because you're right. If there's let's say there's a sales meeting and it's all guys and one girl, so to speak, in this sales meeting, it might be just a natural, not intentional, but maybe it's just a stereotype that might exist where they would ask the girl, so to speak, can you bring the donuts or whatever.
Yes.
What do you suggest they say if they're in that type of situation?
First of all, acknowledge, hey, that does need to be done. Perhaps we can find someone else who is better suited to do that.
That's a good answer. I like that. What is number 3?
Number 3 is finding the support of someone in your industry or outside of your industry that has gone through what it is that to understand your challenges. So finding a mentor, and not necessarily a mentor only, finding a sponsor as well. And
let's talk about the differences between them.
Sure.
And I'd like you to share maybe a personal story of a mentor or a sponsor that really has helped you in your career, or what you've seen really work. So describe for us the difference between those two, because I think they are distinct, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We need, as women in sales, we need mentors and sponsors. The mentor is going to give us advice, career advice on how to navigate our role. The sponsor is someone who is at a level above you that can go into a meeting with other, let's say, C-level executives and mention how you are doing in your role. They sponsor you. They're an advocate for you. They're your raving fan.
Yeah. And I think that it could be the same person, but I would take your advice that it really should be 2 people. That way you're kind of getting the best of both worlds and not confusing the role that others may see that person plays. I'll give you an example. I had a lady that was my mentor, but at the same time, she would go to these, high-level board meetings. And if there was an opportunity, she would say, well, what about Krista? I think we should give Krista a chance on that task force or whatever. And I would not have gotten the opportunity to get on new task forces, take some stretch assignments, if she wasn't sponsoring me in that way. At the same time, she was a mentor and everyone knew that. So they might not have taken her sponsorship as seriously if there's too close of a relationship. And I just want to throw that out there. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. one of the things that we encourage women to do is make sure that your sponsor, don't limit it to just women. The fact of the matter is only 11% of sales director and above roles are held by women. So don't use that as an excuse to say, well, you know what, we don't have any sales directors or VP of sales who are women. I can't get a sponsor. Men can sponsor too.
How do you get a sponsor? What would you recommend someone does do they ask? Do they like pick someone out and say, hey, will you be my sponsor? Is it that simple?
With mentors and sponsors, you have to first identify what is it that you're looking for. Then I would write down a list of these are the things that I'm looking for. These are the things that I am bringing to the mentorship mentee agreement, and then go out and say, Mr. or Miss Executive, I'm looking for a mentor or a sponsor. Here's what I need. Here's what I'm bringing. That organization is key, or else you just have conversations, and that benefits no one.
Yeah, I want to dive into that just a little bit more deeply. On as far as mentorship goes, and the understanding of, am I the mentee, am I the mentor, and what is my role? Is there any advice there in terms of having set call times, expectations in between the calls, so that it becomes more formalized, for someone, instead of, I remember one time I heard someone say, oh, she said that she's your mentor, and I'm thinking, she's not my mentor, but so you don't want to make those assumptions, right? So how do you formalize that process?
There are plenty of guides that can tell you how a mentor-mentee relationship should go. I recommend having set times, whether it's the first Saturday or the first Monday of the month at a specific time. Have goals of what you want to accomplish. Come prepared with talking points so that it's organized and productive, and also an accountability piece so that when you walk away, your mentor knows exactly what you are going to accomplish, what you're committing to, and it helps keep the mentee on task. Yeah,
I'm going to add something, and I'm thinking about the women's sales professional group that we both belong to.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that we don't forget to talk about that when we talk about, I think it's your fourth or fifth strategy, because by having a mentor and a sponsor, it naturally makes me think about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Right?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about number 4?
Number 4, using emotion effectively. And a lot of times women are told they're either too pushy, too aggressive, timid, but they're categorized based upon emotion. So what I suggest is that, first of all, be who you are. Be authentic, and if emotion is part of who you are, then that's okay. I would just use it effectively and to use it toward getting to your goal rather than using it as a crutch.
Yeah. When I hear you say that, I think about how maybe there's just perceptions of women in a leadership role or position. Yeah. If I am more strong-willed or leading in a way that is controlling, so to speak, or it might be okay from a male to do it in a certain way, but women, they call us names sometimes.
They do, and that's unfortunate. But I always tell the women of my organization, what someone else thinks of you, their opinion of you, is none of your business. Carry on.
None of your business. I love it.
What someone thinks of you is none of your business. Carry on.
Where does your tenacity come from?
Ooh, way back in the day, I was raised by a former Air Force sergeant who grew up in the segregated South. So he sat me down at age 6 and he said, this is the way the world works, and Michelle. And he said that there were 3 types of people in the world: those who make things happen, those who wait for things to happen, and those who wonder what the heck happened. And then he also said, you have 2 strikes against you. Now keep in mind, this is a man from the segregated South in Georgia. And he said, you have 2 strikes against you. You're black and you're a girl. He said, so for the rest of your life, you're going to have to work twice as hard in order to get half as recognized. So back to that Girl Scout cookie story of selling Girl Scout cookies, when they handed out sheets, I took 2 sheets because my daddy's words were ringing in my ears twice as hard in order to get half as recognized. And it's that mindset that has taken me to the top of every vertical because I knew that I had to perform.
Yeah, I love that story, Cynthia. I mean, that's truly from the heart, and I think it also really represents who you are at your core. And you know, we're doing some things together in business, and I see that every day, and I love that tenacity. But you do it with that smile on your face.
I love what I do. I love what I do, and when I can see a woman get that aha moment and report that, you know, she, because of being with the association, she has increased her year-over-year growth by 200, 300%. That makes it all worth it for us.
That's great. Well, your daddy certainly would be very proud of you today.
He is. He is. Thank you.
Yeah. When you think about these 5 strategies, I think maybe we talked through 3 instead of 4. I might have miscounted. So we had personal presence, and then it was integrity in your role. And then we spoke about that emotional component and kind of using that effectively instead of ineffectively. And then the power of being authentic, I think you talk about it as a separate strategy, right? That authentic self. And I think that's difficult for a lot of women in business and women in sales because we might feel that we need to be somebody that we're not. Because the role has been, you know, a male-dominated role. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it comes from knowing that you are enough. And there are plenty of things, social media, the media, telling us that we're not enough. We're not tall enough. We're not thin enough. Our teeth aren't white enough. There's a whole bunch of things out there telling us that we're not enough. We need to reach deep down and realize we are enough. And when you bring your authentic self to the sales process, you are much more effective than trying to read a book written by someone else with scripts on what you should say when it's not in concert with who you authentically are.
Yeah. I think how you come across in front of a customer or even internally in your own company, people can pick up on that, you know, and if they're dealing with someone that they know is the real deal, it makes a big difference. You know, we kind of share a similar saying because we have a strong belief in this, which is be you, not them.
Yes.
And then you had one the other day, it was similar. Do you remember what you said?
I think something about it's better to be different than it is to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that starts to remind us the beauty of our own uniqueness.
And indeed. There's nothing that says that you're not enough except out in someone else's mind.
Yeah. Just don't do it in your own.
Correct.
That's right. Now that last one was associate yourself with like-minded women.
Yes.
And what are some things that you find yourself doing personally to kind of carry that flag?
I make sure that the women who are in my circle are smarter than I am and make more money than I do. You never play tennis with someone who is worse off than you, correct? Because you want to be challenged. You want to get better.
That's right.
So make sure you surround yourself with women who are goal-oriented, motivated, driven, and that can teach you something. Everyone is going to have their own strengths and their own challenges. You won't be smarter than everybody else, and you won't have deficiencies compared to everybody else. But make sure that the people who are in your circle know more than you do in key areas so that you can aspire to be like them.
Yeah.
Keep reaching higher.
That's really great advice, because I think sometimes we start hanging out with a circle of friends, perhaps, or coworkers that can bring us down or really kind of drain our energy.
Yes.
Yeah. And gosh, there's so many things written about that circle of 5 and making sure that who you're surrounding yourself with or who you aspire to be. And sometimes we forget that. We separate work from play or work from home, but that's
who we are.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to also mention about National Association for Women Sales Professionals. What you're doing in different locations throughout the country is making those connections. And I always saw you, even from the first time I met you, as a connector.
It's crucial. It is crucial to connect other people with people that can help them along their journey. I would be remiss in my role as a woman in sales influencer if I didn't enable myself to reach back and help someone else get to the level where I am. I can't help anybody get above where I am because I've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can help someone else achieve the level of success that I have, then that's my duty. That's our duty.
That sounds wonderful. What are some organizations that you try and stay connected with?
The Women's Sales Pros,
mm-hmm.
which is experts who are women in the sales field. The Black MBA Association.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the National Sales Network. I love the work that they do. NAWSP, the National Association of Women Business Owners. And I think that's it.
Yeah. And that can keep you busy enough.
Yes.
Exactly. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience in terms of what you've seen as you're really embracing inspiring women to be their best? Maybe some common themes that you see that you wish we could overcome?
Yes. If I had one piece of advice for women sales professionals, it would be this: make as much money as you can as fast as you can, because we simply don't know what the future holds. So whether you want to have a child and dictate whether or not you come back in 6 months, 3 months, a year, whether you are faced with aging parents and you don't want to put them into a home, or you're part of the sandwich generation where you have aging parents on one side and you have college-age kids on the other side, I've never seen a woman with $100,000, $200,000 in the bank regret it. Mm-hmm. So if you can make as much money as you can now, it takes a lot of stress off for the future. What am I going to do when I retire? Am I going to be handing out carts at Walmart? Or am I going to be on a beach someplace enjoying the fruits of my labor?
Yeah, that's a great advice. It really is. It's kind of like seize the moment.
Yes.
Make it happen.
And always remember, the more money you have, and this is not all about money, it's about the lifestyle that the money creates. Mm-hmm. And the more money you have, the more money you can use to help others. Mm-hmm. So whether you tithe, whether you give to charity, whether you put your niece through private school, it's the lifestyle that the money provides and the ability to help others. Because remember, a closed fist can't receive.
That's right. Thank you so much. That's why I love you so much, Cynthia. Well, I'm going to go ahead and show a slide with your contact information if anybody would like to have you speak at their event, or perhaps they want to find out more about NAWSP. We'll bring that up here for everyone to take a look at. What would you say is the best way to find you or to get connected with you?
I am on LinkedIn hours upon hours every day. So LinkedIn is always the best way to connect with me. I'm linkedin.com/IN/Cynthia Barnes.
Yes. And also, I'm just going to throw this out here. We didn't talk about this, but your goal is to expand NAWSP throughout the United States, and you have an aggressive plan for that.
Yes.
If there are any women on the call today or that are listening in that are inspired by that potential of maybe being an ambassador for the organization, we need volunteers, women that are like-minded, that care about the future of women in sales, as much as you do and as much as I do. So maybe there's a few that might want to jump on the bandwagon.
That would be great. That would be great. We welcome all conversations around our shared mission to dance on the glass ceiling. Let's go.
Yeah, sounds great, Cynthia. Thank you so much, and I will talk with you soon. I really appreciate you being our guest today.
Thank you so much. Talk with you soon.
See ya.
Okay.
So for our listeners, I just wanted you to be aware that the Krista Moore Show has a website that you can listen to past shows. So if you're curious about other topics, please go to that website, thekristamooreshow.com, click on the past show button, and you can watch or listen in your car or at the gym to any of our previous shows. I also wanted to let you know that next week I have a very exciting guest. Many of you know that video is kind of taken off as a new way to communicate and to deliver content. Well, I have a video sales expert, and she's going to be sharing with us how to use video as part of the sales process. And her name is Katie Morrissey, and she is with Wisteria, which is a video production company. So I'm looking forward to interviewing her and learning more myself about that whole concept. In the meantime, I hope you make it a great day, and I'll talk with you soon.